Florida? Check. Trailer park? Check. Alligator in the pool? Check. Entitled parents? You betcha. Some people just do not understand the role of a lifeguard. I worked as one for 2 summers on the early morning weekday 6 to 10 a.m. shift, and had very few customers because the trailer park RV resort I worked at was a sad affair, mostly populated in the winter by snowbirds anyway. The few customers I had who were in the RV park on vacation were almost universally horrid. The most memorable, beyond the usual ones who didn't want me to tell their kids to stop running or didn't like the no glass bottles rule on the pool deck, were these. Number 1. An entitled mom tried to drop off 2 kids under the age of 6. When I told her she couldn't do that, she called me lazy. Since I had no other customers, why couldn't I watch her kids? Because I was a lifeguard, not a babysitting service. Because it would violate our insurance policy. Because other people could theoretically show up and I'd need to watch them in the pool. She proceeded to get all huffy and insist, "But I'm on vacation too, I deserve a vacation." Well, maybe you shouldn't have had kids, but at this point, hire a babysitter. Somewhere in there I got the "it's so hard to be a single parent" rant. She eventually told me, "Effing watch them," and just walked off. So I called the police per our policy on abandoned children, which I just made up on the spot. This place was not together enough to have a policy for that. She was not pleased with the resulting visit from multiple authorities, cops and child services. She did try to go to the manager of the resort to complain, but he was perpetually drunk or hungover. That was not a useful escalation path, to put it mildly. Number 2. We often had some local kids break into the pool overnight to party. Usually, when this happened, they just left beer cans around and the gate open. Whatever, anything solved with a trash bag isn't a big deal. However, this time, the gate being left open resulted in an alligator in the pool. My manager being useless, I locked up the pool area, put out the close sign I used during my breaks, and called Fish and Wildlife Services. Now, if you've ever called Fish and Wildlife about an alligator in your pool, hi Floridians, you know they aren't going to come quick. It was my bad luck that this was one of the rare days somebody tried to use the pool at the butt crack of dawn. Worse, it was an entitled parent with 3 kids who full tilt showed up at 6:15 a.m. with everybody in swimsuits, water wings, a giant pool lounger, and cooler. I politely explained the pool was closed due to an alligator having gotten into it overnight. And the father went full rage monster on my tiny 17-year-old self. I'm talking red face, screaming, punching shrubbery. Yeah, that looked as silly as you think, and basically demanded I open the pool immediately for him. Did he want to swim with the alligator? I didn't ask, fearing the answer might be yes. I repeatedly politely explained the situation as he got angrier and angrier. He actually demanded I get in and remove the alligator myself. How about no? Eventually he demanded a refund. I could not do that and tried to send him to my manager. He insisted I was the one refusing him service, so I had to give him his refund and tell him exactly when the pool would be reopened. Neither were possible. They were on vacation and were there to swim. Plus, he wanted me to store all their pool crap in our clubhouse, which was a glorified shed with an outdoor shower on the back. Of course, I could not do that for liability reasons. He wound up throwing all his stuff in front of the clubhouse door and storming off to find my manager. I don't believe he ever did. If nobody was scheduled to check in or out, that was not going to happen. I loaded the abandoned property in my golf cart and drove it up to the main office, where I locked it in the manager's office, per policy, that I just made up. Fish and Wildlife did eventually come and relocate the alligator sometime after my shift was over. The family never successfully retrieved their stuff, nor did they get that refund. It turned out our real policy on abandoned property was to take what you wanted and toss the rest in the dumpster. Number 3. The groundskeeper was no more reliably sober than the manager. One morning while I was on duty, he'd been in the hooch quite a bit, possibly since the night before. He got distracted and drove the big riding mower straight through the chain link fence and into the pool. Nobody was using it at the time. He swam out and wasn't hurt one bit. I locked up, put out my close sign, then stood around with the drunk groundskeeper staring at the mower in the pool in vague horror. Oil, gas, and grass clippings from it had seeped out and floated to the top. The whole thing looked like a huge mess. I had no idea who to call for this one. The groundskeeper was drunk enough to think it was hilarious and had a giggle fit. I got the drunk guy off the pool deck, always a good idea, and tried to call down to the main office to my manager. That failed as hard as it always did for customers. This was beyond me, so I plopped down in a chair outside the gaping hole in the fence to make sure nobody went in. Because Murphy's Law is legit, a pre-Karen's Karen with a bad 80s perm showed up. She and her kids wanted to go swimming. I explained the situation. She screamed and yelled at me. They'd paid for a pool. They were on vacation and she'd promised her kids swimming. They were going to swim. She literally insisted I was lying about the mower, in spite of the obviously wrecked fence, and demanded to go inside to swim with their kids. She was on vacation. I couldn't possibly deny her kids the rightful time swimming. They'd been promised. Eventually, she physically shoved me aside and went over the wrecked fence, only to see that there really was a giant riding mower in the pool. Her shriek of horror was music to my ears. She demanded a refund. She demanded a voucher for somewhere else to take them swimming. She demanded I be fired. To me, which was extra random because nobody else was around by then. She finally, blissfully, ran off to my manager, threatening to sue for, I'm not sure what. Pre-Karen Karen got nowhere with my manager. Surprise. Turns out, this was not the first time this had happened. My worthless manager actually knew a guy who had construction equipment that could pull the mower out of the pool. It was closed for about 2 weeks for removal and repairs, which were shockingly minor. I still got paid to hang out there and do nothing most days, because I also ran the mini golf course, which was just as sad as the rest of the resort. Sadly, I was not on shift during the removal because that was almost certainly entertaining. This job sounds really eventful, but most days I sat in the clubhouse and read library books. More happened on the city bus I took to and from work than at work. Great little gig. Karen doesn't let me eat in peace, so I ruined their private party. So for some reason, a mother decided to have 20 7 to 9-year-old kids inside this one McDonald's to celebrate one of the little demon's birthdays. I walked in and there was no one in sight, like apocalyptic. Cars are outside, but their owners are gone type deal. I take a moment and say, hello? And before I can do anything, this 40-year-old, as much as I hate to do this to her, Karen, comes out of nowhere and asks me where my present is for little Tammy or Tina or whatever. I tell her I'm not there for a party, I'm just hungry. And she points behind me and says, well, you can leave then. Naturally, I take this as a joke because, well, hungry. So laughing it off, I see a worker at the counter and I wave as I go to walk up. This woman, full on, tries to stiff arm me and stop me from going up to the counter. I look her in the face and ask, are you serious? So now I'm in the middle of the dumbest argument of my life about how I shouldn't crash a private party. Really? In a damn McDonald's? I'm yelled at for 10 minutes before a worker just shouts over her and says, so what do you want? I yell my order and get a thumbs up. So now the kids come back in from that jungle gym of hell. And now about 12 parents and 20 kids are watching this woman tear into me as I relax in a booth. As they enter, she finally calms down, and the birthday girl, tiara dress and all, says, Mommy, why are you yelling at him? Well, honey, you see, I am a very nice man, but if you mess with me when I'm hungry, I get evil. And I say, she was just saying how excited she was to buy you all nuggets. Oh boy, the kids start losing their collective crap. Nuggets have been promised, and damn it, they want them. 2 kids are now jumping on the table, and the rest are chanting, nuggets, nuggets, nuggets. Now, a little fun fact. If you ever tell a kid they're getting nuggets, and they don't get nuggets, 9 out of 10 times you'll get a huge tantrum. So after Karen told them that they weren't getting any nuggets, first, silence, then a single sob, then 16 or 17 full-blown tantrums quickly break out. Amidst the chaos of napkins being flung, streamers getting torn down, and presents being thrown to the floor, I made my way to the counter, slapped down a $10 and $5 bill, collected my burgers and fries, and swiftly got the F out of Dodge. Last thing I heard as I walked out was someone yelling, "Put the cake down now!" I assumed the many screams I heard was some kid putting the cake down. On the floor,